Good evening again, everyone. I am your host, Pat GPT, and I'd like to welcome you back to Coachable Moments. Today, we're going to talk about a very, very important topic, and this is something that applies to everyone. This question is simply, what is your purpose? This question is one that millions of people struggle with. You know, we're put on this planet, we're born into this life, and several of us struggle with the fact of, what am I supposed to be doing with my time? You know, this is an age-old question for years that I struggle with myself. And then finally, it hit me like a ton of bricks. But before I give you the skinny on my theory, I want to look at a few questions and a few reasons why many of us struggle to find the answer to this question. The first thing that I realized when I was evaluating my own life is that I was surrounded by too much noise, too much clutter. And in order for you to find clarity, you've got to simplify things a bit. You must be in a place where you can hear clearly, you know, what's being said to you. One of the first things I did was I had to find a place where I could hear myself think. And then it became much easier for me to receive the direction that I needed to go in my own personal walk. I look for ways to organize my living space, condense things, make things more user-friendly in my space. And that effort alone made things more conducive for me to think clearly. It also, brought about better vibes. I felt better in my space. I recently heard a conversation about the things that you do in your home, and you have to be intentional about it. You know, one of the things that a lot of people say is that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read this book. You know, we all have those self-help books laying around, and it's very hard to sit down on the couch and read that book when the TV screen is looking right back at you, because it's so easy to just pick up the remote, because that requires so much less effort than intentionally reading that book. So in this conversation, I heard the readers, one of the speakers say that he would put a chair in his living room but face it away from the TV. He would face his TV toward the window and allow the natural light to brighten his spirit, and he was more able to focus on reading, and he wasn't distracted by the TV screen. So some of the areas in your home you have to structure in a way that's going to allow you to achieve the task that you're setting out to do. So if it's reading or finally getting started on writing that book, you need to make sure that the area that you're going to conduct that function in is clear of distractions. Those elements of clutter, they don't do anything but creates chaos. It creates chaos. It stifles your creative ability. But on the other hand, if you create a space that has harmony, it brings about a certain level of peace, and it allows you to be more creative in that space. Second, in order for you to see a vision for yourself, you've got to learn to take your eyes off of those abundant distractions. We are, in this country, we're overloaded with cell phones, TVs, tablets, computers, social media, reality TV, and on and on and on. There's so many ways that we have available to avoid doing things on purpose, the things that we need to do. And what I found personally is that so much of my time was being spent staring at screens, whether it was surfing the web or on my favorite social media addiction. I realized that I was spending more time watching other people live their life instead of living my own. And the funny thing about reality TV is that it's someone else's reality. And even that is not real. But instead of living my reality, I was allowing myself to be distracted by the reality of someone else. And in turn, those realities can creep into our mind and start to guide our decisions instead of us living on those foundational truths that we heard growing up. You know, the good morals that your grandmother told you. We tend to stray away from those, and we start to operate on a subconscious level based on the things that we ingest, the things that we take into our brain and into our ears that we hear on the TV and the radio all day long. So it's very important that you see the vision for yourself and make sure that you're focused on that vision instead of someone else's vision. And with that, you must be very careful on what you consume. Otherwise, you could unintentionally be mimicking what you see other people do. One of the other things I want you to think about is the idea that your purpose may not make you rich, but it will very much so be very enriching. So if wealth is your primary motivator, you may want to refocus what your purpose is, because you'll often find that if you're chasing, abundant wealth, you may become very miserable, shortly thereafter on that journey, because you're still abandoning what your true purpose is. Nowadays, everyone wants a lot of money. We want all the material stuff that we can afford, because that's what we now equate to what success looks like. But in reality, your purpose is not guaranteed to produce that wealth. So the question becomes, do you want to live your purpose, or is it really financial abundance that you're seeking? Either way, the thing that you have to do is make that clarification. Oftentimes, we don't want to be burdened with what comes with our purpose, because that's going to require a lot of hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. In essence, what most people really want in this life is simply to be able to afford nice things, go out to eat at the fancy restaurants with the white tablecloths. We want to be able to take vacations whenever we want, several times a month, and not worry about bills. That's the goal nowadays for a lot of people that I, conversate with. The goal is to not have to worry about bills. But living your purpose will require sacrifice, and you've got to be able to differentiate between what your purpose is and whether you're simply wanting to produce an income that is going to allow you to acquire material things, because those two are not the same. They're not one and the same. It's not guaranteed that you'll make tons of money simply by living out your purpose. The fourth thing you've got to really think about, and this is something that affects us daily, and we may not take into consideration the long-term effects of it, but you've got to ask yourself, are you physically able to walk in the purpose that's designed for you once you figure out what it is? Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is not optional. It's mandatory. If you're going to choose to walk in your purpose, that is. So sometimes you've got to push back that plate of fried chicken and the sweets and the carbonated drinks. If you're going to maintain that fitness for duty that's going to be required in order for you to achieve your purpose. And I'll give you an example of this. So, let's say your purpose is to travel the country, mentoring others, whether it's on a professional level or whether you're, flying across country to mentor the youth. It's going to be very difficult to do that on a consistent basis with high blood pressure, a bad back and gout. You've got to be able to focus on your health, or else this is going to drastically limit your ability to be effective in that purpose. Your mind may be willing to do the work, but your body may not be physically able to do so. So in essence, what will happen is that you will not be able to live out your purpose because you're simply out of shape, and your health has declined because of poor eating habits and, possibly indulging in some beverages that may not be simply H2O. You've got to make sure that you consume enough of that water to keep all of your organs functioning and operating at a level that's going to sustain you to be able to carry out your mission. Now, so I've said all that, but I really want to hone this thing in and give you the lowdown on finding your purpose. I used to think that my purpose was something that was out there somewhere. I felt like I was far away from it, and that I was wandering in the dark and hoping that I would stumble into what I was put on this planet to do. But I'll tell you this, your purpose is always closer to you than you think. So ask yourself, what do people usually call you to talk about? Hopefully it's not to borrow money like they do me. Usually your gifts are in use already, even though you haven't noticed it. For example, a lot of people call me to vent about their relationships, their kids, their jobs, their goals, religion, and how they improve their life. Whether it's making more money, being able to accomplish more of their goals. That's what people usually call me about. One of my purposes is to be an effective listener. That doesn't require a lot on my part from an external standpoint, but I do have to maintain the capacity to take in all of those voices and still be able to live out the voice that's in my head related to my own personal goals. So in order to serve others, I have to learn to be an effective listener and follow through by offering good counsel to them and guidance that's going to allow them to make better decisions for their future. I've realized that my ability to coach is a gift, and helping others is a very, very overwhelming task at times. But it has such a tremendous reward when I see people turn their lives around, accomplish whatever goal it is that they set out to achieve, whether it's getting a promotion or getting married or, improving their spiritual life. So all of the reward is not going to be financial. But what I found is that some of the spiritual rewards of seeing others grow is better than actually making money. So I said all that to say this. I hope that this post, this conversation, this topic is going to help you find your purpose. And I look forward to hearing more about your discovery of self and the reason why you were put on this planet. So take some time, leave some comments, leave some feedback with some of the things that you may struggle with as you discover your own purpose. And I look forward to hearing from you all. Be blessed. We'll talk soon.